5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, good morning everyone, and welcome to the 15th show and tell of this phase of development for BoPS. My name is Freya Cunningham and I'm representing Southwark Council today, and I'm here with some colleagues from our development partner on BoPS to show you what we've been working on over the past month. A big thank you as always to the BoPS partner teams at Buckinghamshire and Lambeth councils, to my colleagues at Southwark, our colleagues at Deluxe, and of course to Unbox for everyone's ongoing work on this groundbreaking project. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can also follow us on Twitter, where we'll keep you up to date on upcoming show and tells and any other exciting announcements about the project. Just a reminder, this show and tell is being recorded, so if you do need to drop out early or you want to watch it again or share it with any colleagues, you can access it on our YouTube channel once we finish live streaming. Next slide, please. So what is BoPS? BoPS is a software application that has been designed by and for local planning authorities to process plan applications in a more efficient and intuitive way. So BoPS stands for the Back Office Planning System, and that's what we're building as an outcome of this project. Our users are planning officers who assess and make recommendations on applications, and the managers who then review and make the decision to either grant or refuse each plan application and to issue the council's decision to the applicant. During this show and tell, whenever we refer to RIPA, we're referring to the new application service, reducing invalid plan applications, which is being developed alongside BoPS. Next slide, please. If you have any questions about what we show you today or about the BoPS project in general, then please click on the link in the description beneath this video and you can add your question there on Slido, and we'll return to it at the end of the presentation. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's get into our updates about what we've been working on over the past month. Next slide. So the theme during this sprint has been assessment, and this has included more research and testing into understanding user needs for assessments. We've also carried out more research into the ideal validation flow, and we've been discussing ideas with planning support staff at the different partner councils. Other improvements include the officer notes feature, which we're going to demo for you during this show and tell, and work on some other bugs that we've had, and making it possible for officers to request a change to the proposal description after validation has taken place. So there's some really exciting new features that we're excited to show to you during this presentation. So I'll pass first on to Tom from the Unbox team to tell you a bit more about our approach to understanding assessments.
Thank you very much, Freya. Hello, my name is Tom Gaylor, and I'm a designer working with Unboxed on the BoPS project. And so what I've been thinking about this week has been quite closely aligned to that sort of overall theme of assessments and the process of how officers, planning officers, carry out their work of assessing an application that they've received. And a key part of what's been going on at the moment is thinking about the ways that BoPS as the back office planning system and RIPA as the application that applicants or agents use to submit their applications can work better together through the use of data. And so this is a really sort of core goal for this project, is to think about ways that we can change the way that planning works by the better use of this data. But at the same time, we also want to think about how officers are doing their jobs, so that rather than just making small efficiency savings to the way that planning assessments happen, we actually start with what it is that planning officers are trying to achieve and build systems that work to support them to do their jobs in ways that are sort of efficient, but also fulfilling and engaging, and that can drive sort of wider benefits, can also support better transparency between the local planning authority and any applicants or agents. So a key part of that has been building on some research that I've conducted with planning officers from across the 3 partner councils, looking at mapping out the user needs around assessments and looking at how these can be met by the different use of types of data or the structure of the application. And so this is ongoing work, so I'd really welcome anyone's thoughts or time to engage with this as we go forwards. But the key point is to really focus on planning officers, putting them at the heart of this process and thinking about how we can make assessment work for them. Next slide, please. More specifically, within the theme of assessments, I've been looking at how planning officers assess existing LDCs, and particularly those related to 4-year or 10-year immunity. And a key part of this work has been improving the handling of evidence, supporting officers to arrange this evidence, to store comments against pieces of evidence, and also to add dates such that they can construct timelines that can be used. And one of the sort of key observations from the testing we did, or the research coming into this, was that officers are doing a huge amount of work structuring this evidence and data that exists outside of any systems. And that makes it hard to access that data. If you're another officer who's picking up a case, it makes it difficult for that to be made transparent. There's quite a lot of duplication as you have to sort of copy paper notes into a digital system. So we're looking at ways that we can create tools that rather than having pieces of paper or Excel files, keeps all this data within the system and supports officers to be sort of confident and efficient in their assessment process, particularly in this case of immunity application. So you'll see parts of this process start to be released through development over the coming weeks and months. Next slide, please. On top of this, as mentioned, there's been a new validation approach being designed. So you may have seen this in previous show and tells, either called the validation wizard or a step-by-step approach to validation. And we've been testing and iterating this design work through interviews with planning support or validation officers, again, across a range of LPAs. And a key part of this has been to check on the structure that we used and the approach we took. So we started our testing sessions by getting officers to freely structure how they'd ideally like to arrange their workflow and which approach they might prefer out of a range of options. And then we got them to evaluate our proposal based upon this. And that has helped inform both improvements to that and also how we're going to prioritize this work going forwards as we fit it in with the other goals of the project more broadly. Next slide, please. And sort of alongside this has been a new feature we've added, which is supports requesting changes after validation. So we've already, within the validation process, support officers to make request changes from applicants, which auto-generates an email and supports the applicants to directly input information or accept or approve any suggested changes to their application. That's sort of all automated, saves a lot of time. We've extended this now to support changes outside of that validation process. So description changes at any point before determination, red line changes after validation, and new document requests after validation. So this is a design proposal for how this will work. And again, we look forward to taking this forward into testing and development going forwards. And next slide, please. Finally, this is a request for you to get involved or to ask any questions or make any suggestions at the end of this show and tell. As you can see, there's a sort of a huge focus at the moment is the research and design into the assessment process. So the more that we can engage with different officers and the more you can share your ideas with us, it's going to be super helpful to help us achieve our goals in sort of really getting that officer-centered approach to assessment. There's also been some thought given to what BoPS's vision is for how planning officers should be working in the future when they're using these tools. And if you would like to have a conversation about that, have a look at the draft versions of that or engage with us in the process of putting that together, we'd more than welcome any engagement from yourselves. And then finally, we're also going to be looking at how to manage multiple cases. So if you have any thoughts about any shortcomings of that at the moment or any asks, again, please do get in touch because there'll be plenty of research opportunities coming up. With that, I will hand over to Melissa.
Thanks, Tom. I'm Melissa. I'm one of the developers on the project, and I'm going to be taking you through a couple of the changes that we've implemented over the last few weeks. So I'm going to start by telling you about CloudFront. We've added BoPS applicants, that is the front-facing app where an applicant can reply to a request from a planning officer to make their application valid. We've made the change of putting it behind CloudFront, which is a content delivery network. It means that BoPS applicants will now have higher availability, but it also means that we don't have to worry about manually changing the security certificates. They are now provided by Amazon. So as you can see in the screenshot, BoPS applicants has now been issued an SSL certificate from Amazon, meaning that hopefully we'll always have a safe website with automatic renewal of these certificates. The other change that we've done was removing the description changes from validation. So as Tom mentioned, we are in the process of putting a couple of the validation requests outside of this flow, because in this case, a description change shouldn't be something that blocks the validation of an application. So we have now moved it outside. You can now access the description change from the edit page. But what happens as well is that we remove the ability for a planning officer to edit the description directly. But this still needs to happen. So what we've done to enable this is that after 5 days of having a description change request open that hasn't been replied to, then this will be automatically closed and the description will be updated to the description that the planning officer has inserted. This has also required a couple of changes in our infrastructure so that we have a process that every few days checks whether there are any description changes open that need changing, and then they will auto close and the notification that you can see on the screen gets sent to the applicant. Another couple of changes we've made were from the visual perspective. So you can now see the days left directly on the planning application page, and you can also see the address. So this has made it so that the information on the page is more easy to access. We have also color-coded all the target dates, so that you can easily understand whether there is a lot of time left on your application to be assessed or if it's already overdue. So if you have a lot of time, the colored code will be green, midway yellow, and then when it's very close or overdue, it will become red. I'll tell you about one final change before I go on to the practical part and show you the tool live, is that we also added notes to the planning application, so you can easily have a record of the last note that the planning officer has left on it. Now, onto the live demo. So we will go over to Foxy Gardens. I'll put on my planning officer hat, and what I'll show you is that whereas before, for you to be able to add a description change request, you need to request a validation change from this page. Now you can do it directly from the application information. So I'm going to say that the change should actually be, I'm going to add a pool, because why not? And then the description change request gets sent. I can see the requested change from this page, and I'll take off my planning officer hat and put on my applicant hat. And I received the request saying what the change is, and I can confirm the change to the description as usual. Now, when I go over to our other page, and I'll take off my applicant hat and put on my planning officer hat again, you can see that you have a notification for a description change request that has been answered to, and it has been approved. So now our application information has the description updated. If I was to add a second one, which I can, there is nothing, add something else. There's nothing preventing me from doing so. Whether the planning application has been validated or not, you can see that the requested change is here present. And after 5 days, this will auto close, which is a little bit trickier to show, but you'll have to believe me for now. Okay, now the other features that we've added, you can see them right here. Now the address is clearly visible on the top. I can see I have 40 days remaining, so our tag is green. And I can also add a note. So I'll add a note to here. Say applicant accepted, and the latest note is always displayed here on the right hand corner, and I can also view the previous notes that have been left on the planning application. And I think that's all I have to show you for now, so I'm going to hand back over to Freya and into our presentation.
Great, thanks guys. It's always really good to actually see things being used during the demo. So that's all of our updates for today. So I'll let you know what we have planned coming for this upcoming sprint. So we're going to be sticking with the assessment theme, and we'll also welcome some other general improvements. So this is going to include allowing multiple file uploads for applicants, allowing officers to edit and cancel validation requests, which they've already sent out, and also agreeing on the best way to filter and sort the list of applications on the BoPS landing page so it's easier for officers to navigate between their different cases. And then we'll also be looking at accessibility so we can make sure that everyone can access and use BoPS. Next slide, please. Okay, so as always, for anyone watching who wants to see BoPS for themselves, we'll be really happy to either do a demo for you or a testing session. You just need to get in touch on the email or any of the social media channels shown on this slide. And don't forget, there's also those 2 demo videos on our YouTube channel that you can watch, and they show the full end-to-end process from the point of submission on RIPA to the point that the decision notice is issued on BoPS. So they're really good if you have got time to go over those. Otherwise, let us know if you have anything else that you want to work with us on, and we can arrange that for you. Next slide, please. Okay, so thanks for joining us for this show and tell. We hope it's been informative, and it's now time to check if any questions have come through. I'm just going to move over to our Slido page and have a look. I don't think we have got anything. No, we haven't got any questions, but don't forget, you can just ask those to us on those social media channels. So I think we're going to finish now. So thanks for watching again. As we're coming up to Christmas now, there's a lot of people taking leave. So we haven't set a date for the next public show and tell yet. So keep an eye on our Twitter. And if you're on our mailing list, we'll send out details about the next date and the link to that. And we'll confirm that date as soon as we can. So thanks again for watching, and we hope to see you again next time.